Okay, this might be the best I can do. Because it won't let me share. Let me see if I can share my other screen here. Oh, there we go. Does that look better?
It looks pretty good. It
Okay.
could be if you have dual monitors, sometimes it's hard on Zoom.
Yes, I think it's giving me a hard time because I've got a dual monitor. Okay, so my paper is about the student perceptions of using a low-code tool in the classroom for prototyping. Now, we have a current problem in the workplace. If you're familiar with information technology, you are probably familiar with the problem of a shortage of developers. Ever since we had a crash after the dot-com boom, we've had less students enrolling in computer science, and by the end of 2020, there was 1.4 million unfilled computer science jobs in the US. There's quite a few tech jobs open right now, and a lot of them are in the software development area. Now, one solution that's come to the forefront in the past few years is low-code development. And low-code development are special tools that allow you to create an application without knowing any coding skills or maybe very few. It allows anyone in your organization to learn how to develop software. It's a valuable skill for students to add to their resume right now. We see low-code tools growing quite a bit in the workplace because they contribute to workflow automation and allow us to automate some of the very tedious tasks like sending forms or initialing forms that employees spend quite a bit of time doing. Now, as a solution to help students add low-code development skills to their resume, we created a new course model for our systems analysis and design course, where students develop a rough draft of a prototype using a low-code tool. And specifically, we use the tool Microsoft Power Apps because it's very popular. It's well supported because it is a part of Office 365 that's very common in US organizations. And in addition, there was no charge for our students for this tool because it was included as part of the Office 365 subscription that Minnesota State provides for the students. So students will create a rough draft of their prototype. They go through a review process where they have a student partner that reviews it and gives them some feedback. And then they revise their prototype, and then their professor assesses their work. Our research question is, what are student perceptions of using a low-code environment to develop an application prototype? Let's take a look at the methods, the participants, materials, and procedures for this study. The student demographics is a group of students from our university. It's a mid-sized public university. All of our students are non-traditional students. The average age is 29 years old. We are a federally designated minority serving institution, which means that the majority of our students are people of color. And 75% of our students are Pell Grant eligible, which is a proxy for low income. So most of our students are in a lower household income bracket. Now, we did this study as a small exploratory case study, just using one section in spring 2022 of our systems analysis and design course. The timing was at the end of the semester. So we just completed the research this past week, and the survey tool was an anonymous Qualtrics survey. For this exploratory case study, we are aiming to gather data for a larger scale investigation that'll be longitudinal and cover multiple sections of our systems analysis and design course. And we'll also use the results to refine the curriculum based on the students' feedback. Now, this survey took a mixed methods approach. There's both qualitative and quantitative questions. We're gathering the students' perceptions, and we're going to use two different types of analysis, and a thematic coding approach for the qualitative data, and then an intersectional analysis in Excel for the quantitative data. Let's take a look at the results. The results were very interesting. Students, for the most part, agreed that they were able to develop their prototype for the class quickly using the low-code environment. They also agreed, nearly all of them, that they would like to use a low-code environment in their current or future job. This is helpful to learn because this is one of our aims, was to allow students to gain a better understanding for work. And they also agreed, for the most part, that prototyping using a low-code environment was a valuable experience to add to their resume. Now, the really interesting part, I think, was the qualitative data that we gained from this particular study. We found that students, in response to the question, what are the benefits of using a low-code environment? They said, it's easy to learn. I can turn a spreadsheet into a functioning app in about 5 minutes. It's pretty simple and helps you see what you're trying to make, sort of like a rough draft. I'm able to do things I couldn't do as quickly as I could if I was to code it. I love the ease and convenience of it. And it gives users the power to build an application for their business with minimal code knowledge. So the students perceived a lot of the benefits that we see in the literature surrounding low-code development tools. Now, what are the drawbacks to using a low-code environment for prototyping? Some students said there were no drawbacks, so there wasn't as much qualitative data here in this response. But we also did get some very illuminating responses. A student said it gives users an excuse to skimp on their code skills. Another student said some complicated prototyping features are not yet available. And also, there can be restrictions that you didn't anticipate and can't as easily work around. As with code, you have more creative freedom. And this is something that I've seen as well, echoed in the literature on low-code development. After you get beyond a very simple or basic app, it becomes very difficult to keep going forward and keep developing with no knowledge of coding. The restrictions become apparent pretty quickly. So what's next for our research study? We had a key limitation, that's that we used just a single class section for this particular study. So we had a small sample size of 18 students. This was good because it helped us minimize variables. We all know as faculty that when you have two different instructors teaching the same course, you'll see sometimes very different student opinions or feedback. And so having a single section at the beginning was useful. What we'd like to do in the future, we only have typically one section of systems analysis design in our university per semester. So we are planning on a longitudinal study. We're going to tweak our survey and also our course curriculum a little bit based on the feedback we've received from students, and then implement this survey over a couple of years so that we can grab 5 or 6 sections of students over that time period and really build it into a nicer, larger case study. So the broader impact of this particular research is that the results, although it is a small sample, coupled with the curricular artifacts that we're sharing in our paper, provide faculty with a nice starting point for implementing prototyping using a low-code environment in their own courses. And as a broader point, this study really serves as a nice proof of concept. We now know that it is absolutely possible that students are able to do this kind of assignment. We had a very high success rate in this course. There were no withdrawals. We haven't done the final grades yet, but I think every single student completed the project and the prototyping. So that is a very good sign. Students were very successful at actually using the tool to create their prototypes. So it provides a wonderful starting point for other faculty that are interested in developing low-code course curriculum. As I mentioned, in our paper, we're sharing a assignment instructions, and rubrics, these curricular supports that'll allow other faculty to try this out in their courses and perhaps add to the body of literature with their own research as well. So I am interested in hearing from you. What are your questions for me? Of course, I have my contact information up here, so if you're interested in contacting me after the conference today, you're welcome to do that as well.